one of our most sacred cultural protocols is to acknowledge the owners and custodians of the country on which we gather. I have blood ties to the Jagera and Yuggera people from the south side of Maloney. Maloney is known in our language as a very important songline, the river that connects the people of Quandamuka, otherwise known as Moreton Valley, to the people of the mountains. So Yuggera people on the south side of the river. This side of the river is the land of the Tribunal nation, and their country extends from Gardens Point here, which is a very important site for women's ceremony, down to where the Royal Brisbane Hospital and its fishing grounds are, and out to the Tribunal wetlands. But right across the greater Brisbane area, we have a large number of people, Aboriginal and Torres Strait people, from throughout the state and across the countryside. So half our mob, the Jagera and Yuggera people, and the Turrbal mob from over here, and elders right across the community, past and present, we'd like to welcome you into this place for a very important gathering. Thank you.
So, to begin, I would like to introduce the members of our tribunal, starting with myself, Brendan Mackey. I'm an ecologist working on climate change, and I'm a professor at Griffith University here in Queensland.
Sam Watson, grandfather, father, currently putting together a film, but born and raised in Brisbane, but have blood ties across a large number of tribal communities and groups and nations from the south side of the area around the Beanley Mount Tambourine mob. That's where my maternal grandmother, her country. That's the Windjera people, and we have tribal and bloodline and breeding connections right through that area to the Munjal people of the Yuggera language group, up this way to the Yuggera and Yuggera mob, but also through traditional Aboriginal adoption to the Kalkadoon people up in around the Mount Isa area, and also the Cape York area, the Wick people, Marpoon mob. And also got rallies right across Brisbane, southeast Queensland, Cherbourg, Warrabimba, up there in Mount Isa, Townsville, Palm Island. So great pleasure to be here because every part of the work that Catherine and I do at a community level is very much connected to the country and trying to restore that connection and maintain those bonds that exist between our mob and the sacred land. So it's good to be here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Janelle Fabio. I'm a law student here at QUT. I'm representing the voice of the youth.
I guess by contrast, I'm Ian Lowe and I'm representing the voice of the not youth. I'm a pensioned off former professor in the School of Science at Griffith. I've lived in southeast Queensland for 35 years. I gave up trying to keep Brisbane habitable 10 years ago and moved to the Sunshine Coast, where I'm trying to stop them doing to the Sunshine Coast what Campbell Newman did to Brisbane.
I'm Noel Preston and I'm from out of Brisbane too. I'm from the Redlands. They call me an ethicist, and I guess I have been, I am. Retired adjunct professor at Griffith University, and delighted always to hear from Michelle Maloney. She does a great job, and I'm happy to be part of her team whenever I can.
So very quickly, the tribunal's task today is to make a local decision as to what should be recommended to the International Rights of Nature Tribunal on the question of whether the rights of nature of the Great Barrier Reef have been or are likely to be breached given current and ongoing developments, particularly those that are being enabled by various levels of government. And I'll be asking Michelle Maloney, who tonight is in the role of the Secretariat for the Tribunal, I'll be asking her to open the Tribunal with some background information and a further explanation of the schedule for tonight and how it's going to unfold. I just want to note before I ask Michelle to speak that in making its recommendations, the Tribunal will be listening very intently to the legal opinions of the prosecuting and defence lawyers, who I will leave it to Michelle to introduce, And we'll also be hearing witness from a set of, or evidence from a set of expert witnesses. And I just want to add that in making our determination, the Tribunal will be drawing primarily upon the principles and articles in a document called the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Mother Earth. This is a draft new multilateral environmental agreement or treaty, international treaty, that's been tabled by a cluster of countries in the UN General Assembly and is currently, if you like, under consideration. But I would just add that in addition, the Tribunal will not be limiting itself to the Universal Declaration of Rights of Mother Earth. It's also required to draw upon principles and legal obligations and precedents in existing national and international hard and soft law documents, including the Earth Charter, which actually was endorsed by the Australian Senate about 10 years ago. The Rio Declaration, the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Convention on Biological Diversity, all of which are very relevant to the Great Barrier Reef. And whilst the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Mother Earth has not been formally endorsed by the UN General Assembly, the UN General Assembly has endorsed a declaration on Mother Earth Day. So Earth Day can now be celebrated and is celebrated as Mother Earth Day. So the language of Mother Earth, the concept of Mother Earth, has certainly entered international soft law. So with that introduction, I'll hand over to our Secretariat for the evening to give us some further details.
So for those who don't know me, my name is Michelle Maloney. I'm the National Convener and Co-Founder of the Australian Earth Laws Alliance. AELA is basically the Australian expression of a global movement of people who are looking at issues, questioning the underpinning structures of industrial society and asking, why is it so? AELA is basically a group founded by lawyers who are very concerned about the place of law in industrial society's ongoing destruction of the natural world. The Earth Laws Alliance today has a broad range of work and a growing network of incredible people from a multidisciplinary background. AELA is also part of an international network that I'm very proud to be part of called the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature. And further information about our Global Alliance can be found on AELA's website. It's actually the Global Alliance that put together and created the Permanent Tribunal for the Rights of Nature and Mother Earth. It had its first sitting in Ecuador in January of this year. I was extremely privileged to be part of that gathering and as the Australian representative in that country when we were putting together initial cases to be heard, to be admitted into that permanent tribunal. I decided that the Great Barrier Reef had to be spoken for. So it was with great pleasure that I worked back with local folks here in Australia and put together a briefing. And the Great Barrier Reef case was admitted by the International Tribunal to be heard. The next step for the International Tribunal is to meet again in December and to hear further evidence and to make resolutions and decisions about the 9 cases that are being heard. So today's discussion, today's tribunal, as Brendan already flagged, is actually our first regional chamber of the International Tribunal. And AELA aims to host at least one of these a year to profile and over time make a higher profile about the current and proposed threats to the rights of nature that we perceive in our country that need significant attention and need international attention. So the tribunal this evening will be run by the process of having a prosecutor for the Earth, who will be Benedict Coyne, who's a lawyer that many of you know, and is a very accomplished litigator as well. And we'll have the defence will be Abraham O'Neill, speaking for the government and the fossil fuel industry and the broader system. Because I think the really important thing about the Rights of Nature Tribunal is that it's a tribunal of the people, and it's actually not just putting on trial the activities and violations that are occurring to the Great Barrier Reef as a beautiful living ecosystem. It aims to challenge the very essence of our legal and economic and political system itself. And by challenging the fact that our Earth has no rights within our human created system, it hopes to, over time, propose that an alternative jurisprudence is much more appropriate. I also just want to mention that this tribunal was put together to be hosted as part of the Earth Rights Days of Action, which is another initiative of the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature, including Vandana Shiva, who's the president of the Permanent Tribunal. And it's in collaboration with a whole range of events around the world. In San Francisco, they hosted their first People's Tribunal on the 5th of October, where they put on trial Chevron for its oil pollution and its ongoing climate impact in that region. So before I move on and actually bring or introduce Benedict to move to bring the prosecution to your attention, I just wanted to mention that for those who don't know, the rights of nature isn't just an idea, it's already a movement as such, and it exists in a number of pieces of legislation and constitutional reform around the world. Ecuador's constitution integrated the rights of nature in 2008. There have been 2 cases, one was successful under that constitutional provision. The Vicabamba River was recognised in a court case at a provincial level as having its own rights and having the right to exist and thrive and evolve, and certain actions were ordered to ensure that the river's existence continued. Bolivia has a national piece of legislation that respects the rights of Mother Earth and a complex administrative structure around it. There are also more than 150 local level laws in the US that are a combination of both asserting community rights to a healthy environment and asserting the right of nature. So in the US, we've got a lot of community activists and the equivalents of local councils who are integrating this into their actual lawmaking, and on a daily basis face challenges from corporate, government and other interests who are challenging the community's rights to be a healthy place. I'm very pleased that Professor Brenda Mackey was able to speak already to the Universal Declaration for the Rights of Mother Earth. What's really lovely about that declaration is that it's very much like the Earth Charter, the absolute essence of civil society. It was created in Cochabamba, Bolivia in 2010 by many thousands of people working together to state that this was what they saw as the most sacred things and aspects of life that should be protected. So I hope that gives you a bit of a background to why we're hosting the tribunal. We're very lucky to have a number of excellent witnesses and people who will be able to give you some more information. I do also just want to acknowledge Senator Larissa Waters, who originally was delighted to be invited to be a tribunal judge. Last week she was advised that a domestic violence Senate inquiry, I think, has started today, so she's actually in Canberra. But I think Brendan may speak to the fact that we're going to include some video footage of her making a statement about the situation as it is and to contribute to the tribunal. So I would now like to hand back to Brendan, I think, who's going to introduce the prosecution. Thank you.